here has experienced appendicitis or has had an appendectomy? I personally have had the experience of having appendicitis and I've had the pleasure of getting my appendix removed. The point I'm trying to get across is how to recognize the symptoms of appendicitis so that you can get proper care before the condition worsens. You might ask yourself, how likely am I to get appendicitis? Well, it is a quite common condition. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, 1 out of 1,000 people between the ages of 10 and 30 can have the condition. Appendicitis can be caused by several different ways. It can be caused by viral infections like the adenovirus, bacteroides bacteria, salmonella bacteria, and measles. Also can be caused by appendix stones, which are calcified fecal deposits. And it can also be caused by the obstruction of the appendiceal lumen. Appendicitis is also more common in people who already have long-lasting inflammatory diseases. The symptoms of appendicitis are pretty common, but there are a few symptoms that stand out that are specific to appendicitis. The common symptoms are, of course, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and running a fever that's usually higher than 100 degrees Fahrenheit. But the symptoms that stand out are having swelling in your abdomen, extreme cramps, and a dull pain that starts around your navel and moves down into your lower abdomen or to your right. And the pain might get to the point where it hurts to stand straight up and you're forced to crawl up into a little ball due to the pain. The treatment for appendicitis is usually the removal of the appendix, which is called an appendectomy. There are 2 different ways you can have an appendectomy. There is the open surgery where they cut an incision about 2 to 4 inches in your abdomen to remove the appendix. The other method of surgery is a much easier method, and it is called the laparoscopic surgery, where they make 3 little incisions in your abdomen to remove the appendix or drain the fluid that is causing the inflammation, or if it ruptured. And the procedure all depends on how bad the appendicitis is. If the appendix is inflamed, then usually they just do laparoscopic surgery, but if it bursts, they will most likely go with the open method, and your time in the hospital will be more lengthy if it did rupture. I personally have had appendicitis. I was 16 years old. It was the middle of the day. I was at school. My stomach started to hurt, started to experience cramps. Didn't think anything of it. Went to lunch. Didn't have much of an appetite. And then once I started smelling everyone's food, started feeling nauseous. Went to my next class, tried to tough it out, but pain really started to kick in. I then went to the nurse's office. He called my father. He came and got me. Took me home, gave me some ice and some Sprite. Told me to sleep it off, but it didn't quite work. Then the puking started, and simply I thought it was the 24-hour virus, but it definitely was not. As soon as my stepmom got home that night from work, they took me to the ER, and they ran some tests on me, gave me some medicine to stop the sickness, and they gave me a CAT scan, a blood test, and a urinalysis, and the test results came back that I had appendicitis, and that they needed me prepped for emergency surgery ASAP. So here I am, 16 years old, going under the knife for the first time, nervous as anything, and they prepped me for surgery and sent me to the OR. The last thing I remember is nurse rubbing my head, saying everything's going to be all right, and then I was out. When I woke up the next morning, I had 3 patches of gauze on my abdomen. Luckily, my appendix did not burst, and it was just inflamed, and they had an incision in my navel and 2 on my waistline. And thank God that it did not burst, because I ended up only spending 20 hours in the hospital instead of possibly a week. Because usually when your appendix ruptures, they have to watch you drain all the liquid, make sure the acid doesn't spread throughout your whole stomach. So they had to drain it. So Now you know a little bit more in my personal experience of appendicitis and how to recognize the symptoms, so that if you ever do have the condition, you can get treated as soon as possible.